The Pittsburgh Pirates have called up Connor Griffin, but the real story is the bigger picture. Colton Emerson changed baseball's contracts game, but now MLB's next superstar could shatter the market before his first full season.
I'm looking to the bullpen to bring my lefty in. Keep the lead and make your team look pedestrian. It's in your wheelhouse, we'll swing for the fence. You know it's money around here, and I ain't talking expense. Strike one, heat low in the way you can't hit it. You know you wanna start a rally, but you better forget it. Strike two, off speed, same spot, your car looking. Get ready at the plate, this time you're not cooking. Strike three, swinging out of the zone. You ain't even touch it first. Tell me how they gonna drive you home. Walk it back, looking like we ain't cool then. The game's over, might as well put them back to the bullpen. Oh yeah.
That's right. Thank you for tuning in back to the bullpen. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. During the tournament, FanDuel is offering $300 back in bonus bets every day for 10 days. Head to FanDuel.com to get started today. And look, we have got a lot of kind of cool things to talk about and things that are happening for the first time. And Mike Stanton, this isn't the first time that we've been on the mic together. This is our third season. If you must know, we've been doing this for a while. Between you and I, we've got 2 decades on the mic. And you know what? 2 decades ago, players like Connor Griffin were not signing or looking at signing contracts or Colton Emerson's. So this is a dawning of a new age in Major League Baseball.
Well, it's been going on for a little while. This isn't something that, but when we're talking about what's really new are the crazy numbers. You know, we saw Colton Emerson just a few days ago get a contract north of $90 million for 8 years, and he has yet to play a big league out. And then we've turned around now with Connor Griffin getting called up. There are rumors of this dude blowing even that number out of the water, going well over $100 million. But the question is, who is Connor Griffin? Why are we talking about this guy? Well, first thing is, he is the number 1 prospect in all of baseball, and it's pretty unanimous. This guy, they're talking about this guy in the same breath as Bryce Harper. In the same breath, you go back to my generation, you go back to Chipper Jones. I mean, this is a dude you're not just talking about all-star caliber player. You're talking about MVP caliber player. He's big. He's strong, 6'4", 6'3", 6'4", 220 pounds. He's got plus speed. He's got plus arm. He's got power. And they think that the power is going to get even better. So there's a reason why he's kind of the unanimous number 1 prospect in all of baseball, and about as much of a can't miss as we've had in maybe a decade plus.
And what's amazing is he was born in 2007, 2006, 2007.
That was my last year, folks. That was my last year.
And I was a tad younger. I think I was in my 30s at that time. I mean, at 19, you know, Mike, there is a lot to be said about can't miss prospects. You and I have talked about this over the last 3 years on this mic. We have talked about how prospects are one step away from being suspect. And is this something that fan bases should just lend their trust to the club? Because this is a Bryce Harper type projection for a kid like Connor Griffin. This isn't like, oh, he's going to maybe make an all-star game of very good. He's expected to be elite.
Sure. Okay, so he's 19. He's 19, 11 months, and then a handful of days.
Right.
The last time we had a 19-year-old get called up to the big leagues was Juan Soto in 2018. And Juan Soto came up with a lot of fanfare also. And we know, less than a decade later, where Juan Soto is. Okay, so you don't call up a 19-year-old because it's just a good story. You're starting this clock. You're starting him early because he's earned his spot in the big leagues, and he's hit the ball very well. the first couple of weeks of the minor league season. He ran through the minor league season in 3 stops last year, having an OPS over 900. And so that's why they're bringing him up. It's just one of those things that it's not just a good story. He's ready. And, the interesting thing is, we talked about Colton Emerson just a couple minutes ago and about the contract that he signed. Why is there a rush to get this done now? Because as soon as he starts in the big league, the price goes up. Once he starts his big league career, and we've seen it in the past with teams all the way across Major League Baseball. As soon as he starts his big league career, and if he has any success whatsoever, then the price just continues to elevate. And so these teams are doing things that you go back a couple decades, there were a couple teams that did this a lot. Pirates were one of them. Kansas City Royals were one of them. They were really trying to get in front of this because, like I said, once these players get to the big leagues and you see who they are and you see the athleticism, you see the potential, it's going to just continue to cost you more and more and more.
Now, one of the problems with the Seattle signing of Colton Emerson is they forfeited their chance to get their what's called the prospect promotion incentive draft pick. If Emerson had debuted and won Rookie of the Year and met service benchmarks, Seattle could have landed an extra draft selection. But they decided the cost certainly and the long-term control mattered more to them than that draft pick. Yeah. With Connor Griffin, they will get, I believe, that PPI pick. Calling Griffin up now protects her ability to gain the PPI pick if he wins Rookie of the Year. And look, there were other players that have signed deals that were similar. Roman Anthony with the Red Sox, 8 years, $130 million. Cooper Pratt, 8 years, 51. And then we just mentioned Colton Emerson. But looking at this, does something like this signal that maybe getting Paul Skenes is a realistic thing for the Pirates because they would want to couple with Skenes with Connor Griffin? Are the two things connected, or are they still completely different situations?
My personal opinion is they're separate.
Okay.
Paul Skenes, he's only 23. I mean, you're not talking about a
right.
chiseled veteran here, but, already one of the best pitchers in all of the sport, winning a Cy Young last year for the National League. But yeah, I don't think this has anything to do with the other.
Okay.
The Roman Anthony contract, I believe that was a contract. He had already made his big league debut. He was already in the big leagues when he signed that. That's why the Colton Emerson contract was a record, because he had not made his big league debut. And that was 8 years, $95 million. And so, it seems like there may be a little bit of a hard push here to get this Griffin contract, the Connor Griffin contract, done prior to, he'll make his debut today, Friday. So, I don't know if they're going to be able to get it done. And I don't know how much of if he plays one game and the contract comes after one game, if that makes that big of a difference.
Right.
But we'll just have to wait and see what the final numbers are. But the reason why, because the rumor is, Buster Olney has talked about this being I think a 9-year, like $130 million.
Yes, So Buster Olney said they were finalizing a deal reported to be 9 years, $140 million.
$140 million.
Which is insane, because Sidney Crosby, the most famous hockey player next to Mario Lemieux, in a Pittsburgh Penguins uniform, made $170 million over his career.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I mean, different sports and definitely
different sports, but it's still
different eras.
Mind-blowing. Yeah,
it is.
Different era, different sports.
And why would, so you look at Connor Griffin, you go, well, why would he sign this? Well, to start off with, it's still $140 million. And it would take all of his arbitration years, and it would also take 3 free agent years. So that's why the price is so high. But when you look at this contract compared to the Colton Emerson contract, you go, well, why so much? These are different players, man. I mean, Colton Emerson's going to be a good player. He may end up being an all-star, but we're talking about one of the top prospects we've seen in decades in Connor Griffin. You're not comparing apples to apples there.
Right. And so what I want to do in our next segment is I want us to dive into that a little bit deeper, Mike, and get your perspective, because you coach and you talk to hitters and pitchers on a daily basis. And we also want to ask you, does the CBA coming up, is that a game changer, and is that creating issues for these long contracts? Thank y'all for tuning in to Back to the Bullpen. I want to tell you about our friends at FanDuel. FanDuel is an amazing site, and you will love it. Why? Because the tournament's here, and it's the best time of the year. Brackets, buzzer beaters, and upsets. And if your bracket looks anything like mine, it has been decimated. But it doesn't mean you can't still have fun. Why? Because FanDuel is giving new customers a new way to stay in the action all tournament long. You can get up to $300 back in bonus bets every day for 10 days. That means 10 chances to stay involved throughout the entire tournament. You can mix it up however you want. Game picks, futures, or even same game parlays for bigger potential payouts. It's perfect for the tournament because every day there's something new, different matchups, new storylines, and more ways to get involved as the bracket unfolds. So visit FanDuel.com today and sign up. That's FanDuel.com. Get in the action. And make sure you check out the Everydayer Club. Why? Because baseball is finally back, so you need to celebrate. And for that, I'm going to give you a full month of the Everydayer Club for free. Just go to LockedOnPodcastSports.com/Everydayer and use the code FINALLY. Unlock every episode ad-free. Get access to our private listener group chat. Tap the link in the show notes and use the code FINALLY and get that today. So, Mike, tell us, I mean, is it just the raw tools? Is it the makeup of the player? I don't think Colton Emerson, he signed this, but Colton Emerson isn't making an immediate impact on this roster to where the Pirates expect Connor Griffin to come up and make a huge impact. Yeah. They had Jared Triolo up, and he had opened up for them, and he's gone 3 for 20 with shaky defense, and now they were like, look, Paul Skenes is here. We got to get somebody behind him. We got to get somebody hitting. So let's bring that kid up. Are these guys miles apart, or are they just one is just simply better than the other?
Well, I think one's better than the other, and I think you can just see the numbers that they have put together. That you are projecting what Connor Emerson's going to be, and Colton this is Emerson. Colton. I'm sorry, I say Connor. Colton Emerson.
You merged them as one super player.
I did. Oh, that would be awesome. That would be awesome. But So sorry about that lack of concentration. So you look at the two players. And they are different players. Also, Connor Griffin is going to play shortstop. Okay, so it's the premier position on the field. Defensively, he's supposed to be very good defense. There's really nothing that Connor Griffin is going to fall short on. There may be some swing and miss in his game, but you know what? Major League Baseball doesn't care about swing and miss anymore.
No, they don't.
And so there's still a projection. He hasn't hit 40 home runs in the big leagues yet, but the projection is that's what you're going to do. When you look at Colton Emerson, you're looking at a guy that they're talking about 20 home runs in the big leagues and being a good player. So I don't want this to turn into a bash fest on right. Colton, but these are just players that have different expectations. Now, here's the thing. We saw Steven Strasburg come up with the Nationals several years ago, and I knew people that were in the stadium when he pitched for the Nationals that game, and they said it was a playoff atmosphere in the middle. I think it was in July, whenever it was, in the middle of the season for a team that really wasn't doing anything. But that's the kind of fanfare that comes with these top prospects, and that's what Connor Griffin is. You're talking, like I said, you're talking about, this isn't just an elite prospect. This is the best prospect we've seen in maybe a decade, maybe two. I don't know.
Yeah, because they say that he is a 5-tool player. He is a premium shortstop, but he also has, in some scouting reports, center field flexibility. So he can play multiple positions. Now, I'm under no illusion that if he is your starting shortstop, you're going to be like, hey, Konnor, since you can, why don't you go out there in center field?
Right.
But I think that profiles the type of athlete he is
versus
a primary position grade.
But I also think that you're talking about a big dude playing shortstop, and there's some wear and tear. And down here in Houston, both of us are Astros fans, and we look at Carlos Correa, and they said the same thing. Carlos Correa, 6'3". I don't think he's a little bit. He doesn't carry the weight that Griffin does, and Griffin's probably going to get even a little bit bigger he's only 19 years old.
Oh, he's still growing.
They were saying that about Carlos from day one in the big leagues, that he's probably going to play third base. Well, we've seen him even early in this season that he's still an elite level shortstop, but you have Jeremy Pena playing shortstop. So, the idea is when you have a player that is, oversized for a position, you're always projecting, well, where is he going to go when he gets a little bit older, and maybe he loses a step. And center field, because he does have plus speed, center field would be a fit for him, even a corner outfield. But right now looks like he's going to be a big league shortstop. Here's the crazy thing, when you look at organizations and how they are built and how an organization goes from rebuilding to being, a contender, it's really about what you're building in the minor leagues. Right. And now you have the Pittsburgh Pirates, who have, squandered many, many draft picks over the last several decades. Now you're talking about them in the last couple of years bringing up the best pitching prospect we've seen in a long, long time in Paul Skenes, and now best hitting prospect we've seen in decades in Connor Griffin.
And, you can have that pitcher and that shortstop as your core guys. I mean, in Houston, Dana Brown, who's the Astros, GM, has said they want to keep Hunter Brown and Jeremy Pena in an Astros uniform. They are the shortstop and pitcher combo you want. Well, I think Skenes and Connor Griffin are the pitcher and shortstop combo that you want to keep. But let me ask you this before we go to our next segment. Would something like, how realistic is it to keep Paul Skenes? And I know I'm kind of asking you to predict the future and have a crystal ball, but do you think that if they maybe give Paul Skenes an assurance that they're going to keep building around him, that he would be willing to stay in Pittsburgh, or are they just going to have to pay no matter what?
Show me the money. That's how you're going to keep him, because he has already proven, even right now, he's an arbitration eligible. I think he's an arbitration eligible player. Yeah, well, I know he is. He won his arbitration case in an all-time record. So no, I'm sorry, that was Tarek Skubal.
That's Tarek Skubal did that. Yeah,
getting my Cy Youngs mixed up, because
it's tough when they're
Paul
that good.
Skenes is only 23, and he's at the beginning of arbitration. Actually, I don't think he's arbitration eligible yet. What are the chances? I would say slim to none. There's obviously, so you're saying there's a chance. Right. What's all that 1 in a million talk? What? And the reason is because now that he's an established major league starter, not just a major league starter, he is a Cy Young Award winner. And he's still got a couple years before he becomes a free agent. Yeah, you're talking about ridiculously expensive. Possibly, we're talking about Tarek Skubal becoming a free agent at the end of the year, and if he pitches well, he could be the highest paid pitcher in all of baseball until Paul Skenes gets there.
Right. So Paul Skenes is 24 this year. His
Mhm.
25th, 26th, and 27th year, he's arbitration eligible. What that means is that the club can offer him something. He can offer back to them what they want. And then he is
So he's going to be, he's looking at a free agency at 27 years old. And
going into his 28th year. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's exactly the long-term players that all teams want. We've seen free agents have issues getting contracts or getting long-term deals when they get north of 30. Heck, he could have 2 or 3 years on that contract before he hits 30. And so, yeah, you can see why these guys look so incredibly valuable to really anybody across Major League Baseball. So that's why Pirates fans, I hate to say it, may be tough to keep Paul Skenes.
Yeah, it may be tough. In our next segment, we're going to kind of wrap that conversation up, and then we're going to talk about hitting the snooze button, why it's important to get to work on time or a little early. Hello, everybody. Thank you all for tuning in to Back to the Bullpen. I want to tell you about our friends at Robinhood. Why? Because, look, sports and sports markets, they are all over the place, but Robinhood has it set up for you. What if sports were traded like markets? Now you can put your sports IQ to work in real time with Robinhood prediction markets. It's not just you against the house, it's you participating in a live market. You can buy or sell your position live all game long. Use your sports knowledge in the moments that matter. Robinhood prediction markets changes the game. It's people moving the action. So when momentum shifts, you can move with it. I always have known this game, but never had a dynamic way to apply that knowledge. Well, now I can actually take part live in a market powered by people. You are no longer just a spectator. Play by play, you decide. So trade every play with Robinhood. Now available across the U.S. Download the Robinhood app now to begin. Futures and cleared sweepstakes trading involves significant risk and is not appropriate for everyone. Event contracts are offered by Robinhood Derivatives, LLC, a registered futures commission, merchant, and swap firm. And also, we want to tell you about our friends at Indeed. Why? Because you know the deadlines are stacking up. You know the inbox is full, and that job that you just can't seem to fill remains open. Well, this, to me, sounds like a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. It helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for, the skills, the experience, the location, so you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by telling them that you got there by watching our show when we sent you there. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. So what you're saying, Mike, is you're not hopeful, but it's possible. But look, this is what I think too. I know money is king, and I know show me the money and all that stuff. But I just want to, in my fan heart, want to believe that if a player is assured that a club is going to be dedicated and committed to building a winner, that my favorite player on whatever team I'm rooting for would take that hometown discount, because isn't it about winning World Series titles and not the money, Mike? I mean, come on. That's where I think a lot of fans, where they get disappointed when players move on.
Well, listen, the whole hometown discount thing, there's a players they do that every once in a while, but that's not really how the world works, Now,
no, it's not. It's not right.
But you also have to look at loyalty goes both ways. It's not just the team. It's not just the player that's loyal to the team. The team has to be loyal to the player.
True.
And especially in this situation with the Pirates that they're in, they can say all they want. Actually, you know what? The Colorado Rockies did it with Nolan Arenado. Signed him to a long-term deal, told him that they're going to build this, they're going to build that, and then turned around not just a few months later and started tearing it down. Why? Because of Nolan Arenado's contract. I mean, so there was a back and forth this is several winters ago. There was a back and forth in the offseason between the Colorado Rockies general manager and Nolan Arenado, because Nolan's ticked off that all of a sudden, wait, we're supposed to be building something here. You just told me that just a few months ago, and now all of a sudden we're tearing it down. So, and especially with the Pirates, the Pirates being a smaller market, it's going to be difficult to do this. So, really, what are you looking for? And this may be part of bringing up Connor Griffin, just so he gets his feet wet and gets his gets grounded in the big leagues and start showing us all that talent that he has, is that there is a window for Paul Skenes. And that window is he's got like 3+ years left in Pittsburgh before he becomes an unrestricted free agent.
So Pirates, you have one job. That's to win the World Series before Paul Skenes is out of arbitration years, and maybe he might stay. No, but seriously, I do want to get to hitting the snooze button, and I do want to, before we leave this episode, talk a little bit about the Yankees rotation, because they are quite dominant right now in the early season. Hitting the snooze button, getting up on time, getting up early. I may in my day have been late to work a couple times here or there. I've never been a Major League Baseball player or professional player where I've been in charge of so much, right? Like this. But Carter Jensen, a very young player, a catcher who was supposed to be catching, and Salvador Perez was supposed to be DHing. Well, the DH had to prepare to become the starting catcher. Why? Because Carter was nowhere to be found. He hit the snooze button or slept through his alarm. And so Vinny Pasquantino addressed this. And when I saw Vinny Pasquantino addressing this, there was a lot of criticism about, why isn't the manager of the Royals addressing this? Why is Vinny Pasquantino? Why, Mike, would a veteran in the clubhouse be addressing a player issue that seems to be something that needs to come from leadership?
Well, it might be coming, as something as simple as, Pasquantino was a better soundbite. It was a better interview. Okay. But because there's no doubt that the manager did speak. He just might not have had a whole lot to say about it. And listen, things like this happen. And, Carter is a young player, played very, very well in September last year. Had an OPS over 900, caught 20 games. I mean, he was very good. And things happen, man. I mean, that's what, when you're playing day games and, have I been late? Sure. I've been late. Did I have to pay for it? Sure. I paid for it. But, I wasn't a starting pitcher. I wasn't a starting position player and had to be taken out. Had to be taken out of the lineup because they, because I didn't get there in time. And, I thought Pasquantino did a really nice job of saying, well, first we were happy that Carter was okay, because they couldn't get in touch with him. They talked to his parents to see if his parents knew what was going on. So everybody in the organization was like, okay, he's okay. Okay, now we can go from being worried. Now we can be upset because he wasn't here. But this is something that it seems like Carter is being a stand-up guy, which is exactly what he did. He's taken it. He's going to have to wear it. He's going to have to put up with it. And you move on. He's going to be a big part of this team going forward. He's really the heir apparent to the catching role that Sal Perez, eventually will give up. We're not sure when, but it's unfortunate. But just because he was in the lineup and they put out the lineup, and then you have to be taken out of the lineup, now all of a sudden everybody knows. Well, why did they have to take Carter Jensen out of the lineup? He had an issue of being a little late.
Right. And, he did say, I really don't have an excuse, nor should I. I thought
That's
that was good.
great that he did that. You know
But,
what? Stand there and wear it. That's what you got to do.
But very, very quickly, because I think maybe over the next week, we need to talk about it a little bit more. The Yankees rotation. What have they done 3 times this year in this early season?
It's kind of crazy because you're talking about teams that may not have, even good teams that may not have 3 shutouts all season. The Yankees have already had 3 shutouts this season. Now,
Wow.
2 of them were started by their ace, Max Fried. Now, he didn't throw shutouts, but the team ended up throwing a combined shutout. And Max has done, to tell you the truth, I don't know if there's anybody that's thrown the ball any better than he has this season. He started the season with 13 consecutive shutout innings. That's outstanding. And the thing is, they're going to do nothing but get stronger when Garrett Cole comes back, when Carlos Rodon comes back. There's guys that are on the mend from injuries. And so, the Yankees aren't really necessarily known for their great pitching, especially with all the guys that they have on the IL. But I'll tell you what, they've done an outstanding job. They shut out the Giants in game 1 and game 2 of the season. And then they only gave up 1 run in that whole series.
That's amazing. They've given I think the fewest runs all year. So
easy. There's no doubt. And then they go to Seattle. They shut Seattle out once, and then they lost a game 2-1. So they have given up very, very few runs this season.
Right, and that'll be fun to watch because I think the AL East is going to be very intriguing. I think both leagues are going to be intriguing, and I'm not saying that to say it, but we want to thank everybody for stopping by and tuning in to Back to the Bullpen. Another great show. Mike and I enjoy you coming by, enjoy you listening to our show, and look. We're going to go deeper into that Yankee rotation. We're also going to start looking more around the league as we get further along because we want to see where your favorite team is and where their standings are and if that will last. And if you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Get Back to the Bullpen ad-free, plus members-only Discord access and more. Just head to lockedonpodcast.com/everydayer. And for those of you on video, it's into the first 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network on YouTube. For your second listen, check out Sully over at Locked On MLB. So for myself, for Mike, and everybody here at Back to the Bullpen, thank you so much for stopping by. We'll see you next time, and have a great Easter weekend.
Happy Easter. Adios.